Well, I'm having a shit time. I caught a massive cold and my back hurts like hell. None of this would have happened if y'all weren't so goddamn stupid, you know? Of course, my pride has also been majorly wounded by having to crouch and crawl before someone like the wood demon. I had to give him a promise, but I'm going to keep that to myself for just a little while longer. Anyways, my brother Casimir is staying over. He's probably the one family member I have the most contact with. The others have scattered across the country, and aside from the money they send me to help with the upkeep of the safety measures around the forest, there's not much communication going on. Hell, I don't even know what they do for a living for the most part. Casimir's a real estate agent, so I know he's definitely a crook. And I hear one of my sisters married rich and now owns a gambling hall in Vegas. Good for her, I guess. There's definitely some family resemblance between Casimir and me, but he's way leaner and taller, and he's got a hawk nose. He looks a lot like some humanoid bird of prey altogether, but in a good way. He's a very handsome guy, which has led a bunch of unfortunate women to fall for him. He's got those pale green eyes that have already sent countless girls over the moon. That he's also a total arsehole with unresolved mummy issues was something they had to find out the hard way. Lord knows how many times I've gotten calls and texts from weeping girls who'd looked me up to get an answer as to why he'd disappeared. On top of that, he's got a bit of a gambling issue. Since I live and entertain the woods off of the money my siblings send me, that's been my problem occasionally as well. He provides me with a substantial amount on a regular basis, but sometimes he'll come around and need it back because he's made some debts again. Sometimes he comes up with other little side businesses and then he'll spend money on that. But it's never worked out thus far. Bit of a waste, for sure. He's still my favourite brother though. I like him for the person he is around me, not for how he acts when he's away. And the thing is, he'd do anything for me. One of my employees answered the door for him this morning while I watched from my window. After ringing the doorbell, Casimir raked a hand through his slicked back blonde hair and readjusted his grip on the bouquet he was holding. Black colours, my favourites. Shortly after, I welcomed him into my room. After our mum had died and Dad had moved to Calais, I'd taken over the master bedroom as it was more spacious. I'd thrown out every last piece of furniture and put up completely new wallpapers. In fact, I have long since renovated all the rooms in the house. A lot of them serve as break rooms for the employees nowadays, some with beds and cots so they can nap. "I still can't believe what you've done with the place," he remarked. "I keep expecting Mum and Dad's old room when I come here. Feels weird." "It was way too expensive," I admitted, plopping down in my armchair. "I kind of regret it. I should have left everything as it was, would have saved me a fortune, but I felt like I needed to do this at the time." "How long are you staying for?" "Depends on how long that is going to last," Casimir replied, waving his hand in front of me to indicate my altogether state. "You look like shit." "Thanks," I said dryly. "But why are you here?" "A friend of mine sent me this." He whipped out his phone and proceeded to show me several screenshots. I groaned, instantly feeling a headache coming on upon taking them in. They were of an online article. I won't drop any publisher names, but think BuzzFeed and the like. Someone had written about my woods, in the vein of a dark tourism recommendation, location, description, and everything. Now, before you get all panicky, this friend is actually one of the editors of that site. He also has a share in it. When the author submitted it to him, he recognised it. I'm real glad I told him about where I'm from that one time. Who knew it'd pay off? Anyways, it was easy enough for him to let it disappear on my behalf. He helped me bribe the author to never write anything like it again, so not to worry. That's not the end of it, of course. I looked us up, and it turns out we're an insider tip with the horror nerds. So I figured I'd best go and visit my big sister. My big sister'll know what's what. Or not. Maybe my big sister needs to catch a break. He leaned back in his seat, smiling, as he patted down his shirt. "Oh man, you have no idea," I muttered. "It's been hell over here." So I told him everything, and now he's made himself at home in the guest bedroom for what's probably going to be a couple of weeks. He'd had enough foresight to take time off work to help me out. I expect he'll be able to find more hires in no time, charming as he is. We're going to revise the guards' routes tonight and try to locate the blind spot where all these tourists keep coming in through. Aside from that, it's really just a pleasure having someone around who I'm close with. I know I've said in the past that I'm a bit of an introvert, and I am, but it's different with Kaz. His presence has always been a comfort to me. But earlier, when I was helping him unpack his suitcase, there was a moment when I seriously doubted his intelligence. He'd brought out old figure skates, both pairs. Holding mine up by the laces, I gave him a long, reproachful look. "Are you for real? I thought Mum threw them out." He shrugged. "I saved them." "Why? And don't tell me you want to have a go at it around the Twin Lakes again." "Why not?" Casimir replied, meeting my gaze with wide, innocent eyes. "You know exactly why. 'Cause you went for a dip yesterday. Once the surface is frozen, the old man's gonna be asleep all peaceful down there. He won't even know. We don't even have to go to his area." "No, because of the other thing." Kaz frowned. "Oh, I'm sorry, I forgot. The whole dress debacle. I didn't think you were still hung up over Yatsek." "What? That's not what I meant. You almost fucking died out there," I snapped. "Oh," my brother threw his head back, palming his forehead. "Right, yeah, of course, but I'm over that." I didn't know what to say. "I had to punch a girl's intestines for you," I gritted out. "Bear with me, it'll make sense later." "Yeah, and that's why I love you so much." I guess I better share the story behind this one. As you might have guessed from our conversation, Kaz and I used to go ice skating on the Twin Lakes when we were younger, which, by the way, was before I started wearing my wedding dress. We knew it was kind of dangerous, and not only because the ice could break beneath us, but we didn't care. He'd had a growth spurt at 14 and already discovered early on that girls feel nice from the inside. He'd often ask my advice in matters of courtship, and weirdly enough, that had brought us closer together. We'd discovered we both liked ice skating, and we practiced it regularly with each other in the hopes of preparing ourselves to impress future wintertime dates. For years, we only went to actual ice rinks when our hobby came into season, but when I was 19 and he was 16, I suggested we use the lakes instead. We told Mum and Dad that it was because we wouldn't have to pay for tickets there, and because it was basically right outside our door. But that was a lie. Casimir knew the real reason I wanted to skate in the woods. I'll share that soon too. But this isn't about me, so let's just say there was someone living there whom I sort of wanted to put on a show for. Our experience had always been thoroughly enjoyable and untainted. We were always careful not to be too loud or disruptive to the forest. We had that much sense even then. Nobody ever bothered us either. That one day in late January would change things though. The smaller of the lakes, the one we preferred, was a rigid frozen dance floor. Our blades had scraped the ice there countless times. We were talking quietly on our walk, strapping on our skates once we reached the spot and instantly bursting out the big guns. We had already learned some figures and jumps, and we were pretty good for two self-taught kids. We soon noticed we'd forgotten to bring something to drink though, and we were too thirsty to carry on without. Not wanting to cut our session short, I told Kaz I'd run back home and fetch us something. He said he'd be fine, waiting for me. Being fast on my feet, I managed to sprint to the house and return within a half hour. Upon my return, I found my brother grinning from ear to ear. Handing him one of the bottles I'd bought, I asked what had gotten him so tickled, but he wouldn't say. I should have known something was up right then and there, but I shrugged it off. We continued on with our skating and went home before it got dark. Casimir was giggling to himself the entire time. We'd wanted to go the day after that too. Casimir was particularly excited at the prospect. Having a habit of sleeping in on the weekends, I woke up around noon to find out from my mum that Casimir had already left for the lake around 2 hours ago. Did he say anything else? I inquired. No, he seemed rather excited though, Mum replied, carefully cracking an egg into the frying pan she was standing over. Sit down, honey, your brother might have run off on me, but you are going to stay for breakfast, if you can even call it that anymore. Assuring her that I'd be back in a jiffy and apologising profusely, I made a break for it before she could chase me down with a plate. I suddenly had an extremely bad feeling about all of this. I threw on my jacket in a hurry and headed out the door. Upon reaching the lake, I slowed down, sneaking around a little and hiding behind trees as I got closer. I soon spotted Casimir sitting on the ridge by the lakeside, feet dangling just above the ice. He was laughing, and the cause of his delight was apparent. There was a girl sitting on his lap, tickling his chest, neck, and armpits. So that's why he'd been so eager to get back here. He had probably met her the day before when I was away. She was completely naked, so quite obviously non-human, but the fun they were having seemed to be innocent enough. I didn't really care who my brother fraternized with, and more than a few forest dwellers I'd encountered were kind-natured and rather peaceful, so perhaps there wasn't actually cause for alarm. Casimir's giggling filled the air as he started curling up in the snow, the girl leaning over him. Not wanting to stick around and watch them make out, I turned around and went on my way back home. That's when I realised that Kaz was laughing just a little too hard by then. It sounded a bit like he couldn't breathe. Frowning, I cast another glance at the pair. The girl was now holding him down, physically restraining him, and he was actually struggling. Something was off. Biting back my embarrassment, I emerged from the tree line, starting towards them across the ice. Neither of them noticed me at first. I was about to shout out to them when I noticed something that made me stop in my tracks. The girl had her back turned to me, and while the whole of it had previously been covered by her long hair, this veil was now lifted when she leaned further down to bury her face against Casimir's shirt. Her hair shifted, revealing that her back was, for lack of a better term, lacking skin. My stomach twisted at the mere sight. Her spine lay bare, as did the ribs and red mass around them. I was pretty sure I could see her organs, pulsing, dripping red and pink flesh, the white shine of bone. I felt as though the ice was about to break beneath me like I was falling. The girl looked like she was half corpse, cut open with surgical precision to reveal her insides. An actual fucking Marvka. Casimir was gasping for air at this point. His ragged cries tore me from my rigidity, and I stomped over to the two of them, incoherently screaming at the top of my lungs. I grabbed the girl by the shoulders, tossing her off of my brother and throwing myself on top of her. Her face pressed into the snow, she could only sputter and whine. Pulse thrumming in my ears, I summoned all my courage and I forcefully shoved my fingers into the spaces between her ribs. I dug my nails in mercilessly, trying to somehow get a grip on the bone. "I'll rip it out," I screeched, ignoring the vomit rising in my throat. "If you ever hurt him again, I'll rip it the fuck out." The Marvka let out a scream of fear and agony, pushing me off in a panicked frenzy. Rolling onto my back, I could see her taking off into the woods, naked feet slapping the frozen ground. Kaz helped me to my feet, a haunted look in his eyes. As soon as I was standing, he hugged me so tightly he nearly cut off my airflow. I took him home, and we didn't speak of the incident ever again. I never encountered the Marvka after that. I guess I scared her off. There's still the Rizalki, who dwell in hiding by the lakeside though. Just another reason to be careful. I would venture back there regularly. Not to meet the predatory man-hating water ladies, of course. Sure, my brother was a horny idiot in his own way, but let's just say, so was I. Back to the present, I suppose. Kaz and I are currently taking a break from trying to solve the surveillance issue. We haven't come to any fully formed conclusions yet, but he's actually planted an uncomfortable idea in my mind. If the guard's roots have been working all this time, and it's only now that things are going wrong, then there's a possibility that all these internet strangers are getting tipped off and let in. And if that's true, then it has to be one of my employees doing it. Thank you so much for watching. We hope you enjoyed part 4 of the Darkwood series. You can find the other parts in their own playlist linked below. This story is read with permission from the author. You can find their name and link to the story down below. If you would like to submit a story to be read, you can email me at nyxnecromedia@gmail.com. We also have a subreddit where you can submit stories. You can find the link below. We'll be back soon with more scary stories.